Hello, hello, beautiful people. Great evening. How are y'all doing? How are you doing? Go ahead and drop it in the chat for me. Drop a hello, drop a happy Sunday. And I know the educators are like doing two steps right now because you guys are off for an entire week. But we are so excited to have you guys here tonight. Go ahead, do us a favor, drop a hello in the chat. Tell us from where are you joining us? And listen, it's Thanksgiving season around here. So I would love to know, what are your Thanksgiving plans? What are you doing this week, right? Y'all drop it in the chat. And I would love to know, is this on the menu? What's your favorite item on the menu if you are one of those families that gather together for Thanksgiving? So you guys know I'm a real cook. I'm a real cook, okay? So yours truly, I will be serving up some real Thanksgiving dressing, okay? The real kind. Okay, no shade, but in my cooking, I'm not a stovetop girl. I don't like stovetop dressing. So I'm just from the basics, right? We make it all fresh. And so what's your favorite thing on the menu for Thanksgiving? What are your Thanksgiving plans? I will tell you this year more than any year before, the first thing on the menu for us is an attitude of gratitude. Like, it has been a year. Okay, it has been a year. We thought it was crazy last year, my sister passing, and it was. But the world this year, everything has been wild. And so what I will say is, even in the midst of all the crazy things, we still have each other, and I still have y'all. You still have me, right? We still have life. We still have breath. We are still able to eat. You might not be eating steaks every day like you were, but hey, we got some green beans. We got some rice, right? We are doing what we need to do to keep pressing the gas. And so, hey, we're so happy to have you, Ohio. Come on, checking in, Mississippi. I love it. What are you doing? I will be visiting my sister, Little Rock. I love it. I love it. Safe travels to you. Y'all, again, I want to challenge you that wherever you are joining us from, as you get ready to prepare for Thanksgiving this week, make sure that you have an attitude of gratitude on that menu. Tonight, what are we talking about tonight? We're jumping right on in. I'm not wasting any time because you're on break. So we're going to be here for a quick, great time, not a long time. But what are we talking about tonight? We are talking about how do you press through all of the crazy things that are going on in our world right now and manage the pressure while you are in leadership, right? How do you manage the pressure? And even if you aren't necessarily in a position, technically, if you're on this call, if you're on this video, you're operating in leadership, because remember, leadership is all about action. It's all about action. So what do you do if you're on a team and nobody's showing up for work, but the assignment is due, right? Or the program is happening today at 8 a.m. and 10 people called out, right? Or what are you doing at home when you got 3 kids and all 3 of them are acting up at the same time? You're getting 3 calls from the school at the same time. How do you manage all of these real life pressures that happen to us day to day, y'all? And can I tell you the first thing before we get started in the tips? Drop this in the chat because I need you to know this. You are not alone. I think so many times when we start talking about the topic of pressure and we start talking about the topic of it's not easy, sometimes we'll look at other people and that old green, that comparison deal, you will be thinking, oh, I'm the only person that's having a hard time managing. I'm the only person that's having a hard time pressing through this current stressful situation. But I got to tell you, you are not alone. So make sure you drop that in the chat right now. I'm not alone. I promise you, you are not alone. So what are some tips, y'all? We are jumping right on in. Hello again. We are so happy to have y'all here. Remember, you are not alone. And so how do we better manage, right, the pressure? How do we better manage operating through the pressure to perform? How do we do it? I'm going to go ahead and get the party started. And y'all know what BOSS stands for. We are bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. So yes, we are talking about BOSS moves tonight. The tip one that I want to start with, it's pretty simple. Y'all drop it in the chat. Regulate before you respond. Regulate before you respond. I will never forget. We live a very peaceful life in my home. Ty, we are. It's peaceful. It's generally high energy. Like that's the typical vibe. I will never forget. It was one morning. It was 1,000 things. I hadn't gotten 1,000 calls about the school before I had left home, right? Teachers were going to be out with a fight on the bus, like all the things. Tyler is typically a happy-go-lucky child in the morning, right? He's typically a happy-go-lucky. He typically gets right on up, typically have no problems with him. This particular morning, he was slow. It was cooler, right? So he and I both, when he starts getting cool, we don't like to, we're a little bit slower getting out the bed in the morning when it's cooler. But I will never forget this morning, y'all. I was stressed out, and I'm one of those people that I train educators, I train parents, especially parents. Don't drop your child off in the car ride line upset. Like I'm the administrator that was always telling parents, and I'm the trainer now because I still do a lot of parent training, right? I'm telling people, make sure that the last tone and the last things your child hears from you before they walk into the school is something positive. It's encouraging. I believe in you. Do your best, right? Check your tone. This particular morning, y'all, I was up to here. I typically regulate well. But Tyler was being slow that morning. It was just 1,000 things. So long story short, we're going through the car rider line, and I don't know what he said. He was saying something. He was slow to respond. I went off. I let him have it, y'all. And I know that's not my norm, right? This was probably about 3 years ago. Y'all, as he was getting ready to open the door, this big old tear went to falling down his y'all, and I had to, of course, the car rider line is moving so fast, so I couldn't stop. But I was like, oh my goodness. I had to, after he got out, I had to pull over and like get myself together because it made me tear up because I realized that, I caused him to have a bad start to his morning. And so as we're looking at how do we perform better on the profession, you got to make sure that you are regulating before you respond, because if you don't, y'all know energy is contagious and you are spreading something all day, every day. So the first thing I want to say to you, if you're talking about how to manage the pressure to perform, you got to regulate. You can't lead what you can't regulate. Let me say that again. And you might want to drop that one in the chat. Put that one in your Palm Pilot. You can't lead what you can't regulate. So it's crystal clear, right? Research in psychology and physiology, it clearly tells us this mind-body connection with stress, right? When you are highly stressed, it triggers your cortisol. And what's cortisol for my science people? Cortisol is those stress hormones, right? And when that spikes, when your cortisol spikes quickly, research has shown that your ability to problem solve drops on average about 30%. Let me let that resonate for a second. If you're in a high stress situation and you're not your ability to make really great decisions, right, to problem solve, that ability, like that fog is real. It's not like no, that fog is a real, true response that your body is giving you, right? And so we've got to make sure that when we're in leadership, right, whether it's in your home or your house, you've got to stop. So what does this look like? What does it actually look like in action? I hear you saying, Dr. Nelson, regulate before you respond, but what's a practical way to activate that, right? So pause for 90 seconds. And you might be thinking, 90 seconds, girl, what is that going to do? Research has shown just a 90-second pause gives your nervous system time to start recalibrating. Like, hold up, wait a minute. Hold up, wait, 90 seconds. And I think sometimes we negate how powerful 1 minute is. Y'all dropped it down. There is power in just 1 minute, right? 90 seconds, that's a minute and a half. There's so much research out that supports just pausing for 90 seconds, gives your body time to kind of start recalibrating and resetting. Again, your energy is contagious. Your energy is contagious. So if you want to better manage what's around you, you got to better manage what's in you, right? So we talk so much about, I don't care how high your IQ is. You could be a genius on any of the areas of the spectrum, right? But if you are not, your EQ, your emotional intelligence is off, right? Your IQ, it doesn't have as big of an impact as it can, right? So we want to make sure that we are regulating ourselves. The second action point under here is you want to name the pressure point. What's the specific thing that's stressing you out? So many times, we'll say that the school stresses us out. Is it the whole school? Is it your whole place of employment? Or is it just morning transitions when you are missing three teachers on the duty post, right? In your organization, is it that the whole process is upsetting you, or you're stressed on the day that it's time for reports to be due? Like, you've got to isolate and figure out what that specific stress point is, because it's then after you determine what that is, you can shift into problem solving mode. But so many times, like, we're trying to eat the elephant one bite at a time. That's not going to help you, right? So make sure that you are, number one, that 90-second pause to give your body time to start recalibrating. Then name what is a specific thing that you are stressing about, right? Because I know sometimes I've been there. Sometimes you're like, girl, it's everything, A to Z. And sometimes that's the reality of the fact. But when we can learn to isolate out, right? Just like if you're in the gym, you learn to isolate out those muscles. I promise you can figure out what do you need to shift, what strategy you need to shift to get the results that you want. So that's tip one. Here we go. And y'all drop that in the chat one more time. Regulate before you respond. Tip two, redefining performance standards. It's so very true that about 75% of high achievers have a much higher expectation of themselves than anybody else around. Are you a part of the 75%? It's okay. We are all gold sisters, gold brothers. Drop it in the chat. Go ahead and acknowledge I am a part of the 75%, right? 75% of high achievers note that, you know what, when they slow down to think about it, nobody ever told me I had to do all 1,000 things in 10 minutes. I added that stress and I added that pressure to myself. And it's not a bad thing, right? That you have those higher expectations. I got to tell you, that's the difference between the good and the great. So I'm not saying you don't need them, but what I am saying is there might be opportunity for you to reevaluate your own performance standards if you were talking about better managing the pressure to perform. And we all want to do that, right? Performance research has shown us that all pressure isn't bad, right? There's this really fine space, this sweet spot where we all perform optimally with a certain amount of pressure, right? And so we've got to figure out what's the sweet spot. And so if you're trying to figure out what's your sweet spot for peak performance, sometimes you got to redefine what those standards are for you, right? And so what does that look like? What does that actually look like? Have a boss, what I call a boss benchmark. What are your non-negotiables for yourself? And then what are some of the other things that, you know what, that's a figure outable. I know the word, right? She said, I can flex it out. What are the non-negotiables versus the I can flex it out, or my non-negotiables versus it's figure outable later, right? And so once you start to really look at, I really don't have to do it that way. It's just a preference for me. Nobody ever asked me to do that. That's I will never forget. I probably was about in the 10th grade. I don't remember what triggered the conversation, but me and my mother were having a conversation one day. I clearly was stressed out in high school at that moment with something. But I was like, Mama, you always had me making sure I had all A's. Like, I was the girl, I had all A's all the way through, right? And I remember saying that, and she paused in her tracks and she sat down. And you know your mom, they get those look where you know, like, oh, wait a minute, I need to be still and like not move. Like, listen to everything that she's about to say. She said, LaQuanta, I never have said to you that you needed to have all A's. She said, not one time have I ever said that to you. She said, you said that to yourself. And I remember that day, and there have been many times in my life that I remind myself of my mother's voice saying that to me, because so many times we add that pressure. And we add the pressure, and then we're mad at other people because we're looking at them like we did it, they did it, and we did it, right? So we've got to realize that when we do that, you can create your own personal toxic environment for yourself that nobody else did, but you're mad at people because you're thinking they're expecting it of you. But actually, no, they appreciate it, but it's not necessary because they didn't ask you to do it, right? So that's one of those tips, practical actions within redefining the performance standards, is to make sure that you're looking at, like, what are the non-negotiables that you have set for yourself, and then what are the figure outables, and then rebuilding your rubric. Realistic success measures for the week. Drop that in the chat. What are my realistic success measures just for this week? I am guilty of this. You are probably guilty of this. So many times when we're talking about pressure, like you trying to work out a year's worth of work in 1 week. And then on Friday, like you're beating up on yourself because you're expecting a year's outcome to be done in 1 week. Like we do that to ourselves. And so what I want to challenge you to start doing, and start it today, what is your actual measurable outcome of success for this week that you actually can accomplish, that you can look back at and you can say, yep, that worked? Because this leads into the second one, celebrating the third one under this one is to celebrate those micro wins. Remember, celebrating those micro wins are going to give you the dopamine. What's dopamine, folks? That's the feel-good hormones. And when you have those feel-good hormones, it gives you fuel to press forward, right? And it gives you fuel to navigate that pressure in a positive way. Because again, as I told you before, all pressure is not bad. Research has shown us that, you know what, you need a little push. You need a little extra. You need that fire under your behind sometimes. You need it to get your peak performance. But the thing is finding our own, and everybody's individual sweet spot for performance is different, which is why you can't wait on somebody else to figure it out for you. You got to figure out, you got to research and have your own action plans going, reflecting and readjusting as you go. So again, those three things under that specific area, you want to have your boss benchmark. So what's my non-negotiables first versus the figure outables? That rebuilding your own rubric. Stop adding additional pressure to yourself that is not necessary. Again, I am not saying, hear me, I'm gonna lean in. I am not saying that you don't need high standards for yourself. You better have them. If you want to make impact, you better have them, and they better be higher than anybody. You need that, but don't make it so high that you are putting yourself where you need to take some stress meds every single day. Not good, right? Managing those expectations is going to be key to aligned impact. So that's the second one there. Here we go. So again, the first one was regulating before we respond, redefining the performance standards. And this is one that I have my clients that are in schools, our corporate leadership. This is one that we really struggle with. And I understand why we struggle with it. I kid you not. I was eating. Y'all know I love to eat. And I had went to one of this little market, right? One of my favorite little spots to go grab a quick breakfast. And they had pita chips on the menu to go with the smoked tuna dip. But they didn't have them, and they hadn't had them for like the last 3 or 4 times that I was in there. And I was talking to the owner. I was like, where are the pita chips? And long story short, we got into this conversation about hiring great help, right? And so I get why so many of us are like, I'm not going to ask somebody else to do it. I'm just going to do it myself, because if they do it wrong, I got to go back and spend time. But this is one of the key areas where I see the research shows it, and in my day-to-day coaching and supporting people across multiple spectrums in leadership positions, we've got to learn this one. Y'all drop it in the chat. Delegate the weight, not just the work. We are guilty of giving people individual tasks instead of giving them outcomes to work on. Let me say that one more time. We are guilty of saying, hey, just go run the copies, versus can you make sure that everybody in the building has what they need to go for PLCs, Like, it's okay. Of course, yes, we've got to build our team up. Leadership is all about cultivating other leaders around you, right? It's about activating the genius within the people around you. That's what true leadership is truly about, right? So you don't do that just by telling people I believe in you. You don't do that just by telling them I believe you're going to be a great leader one day. Hashtag hand it off, and then also be there to guide them, to coach them, right? But we are killing ourselves by making hashtag who doesn't have to be you. I've said this before on a live. Drop it in the chat. Who does not have to be you? Listen to this, and listen to this well. Pressure turns toxic when we carry what should have been shared. Y'all know the old lady. Listen, I'm an old lady. Listen to the old lady. I'm not telling you about anything that people have just said. I'm not talking about all the books that I have read. No, this is real life. I've experienced it. I see people day to day. You are carrying all the weight that it should be a balance. It should be a tag you're in today. It should be a yin yang. It should be a shared leadership approach. But you are holding it, and in the process of holding it, your heart is getting hard. You getting angry. You getting mad, right? So let me say that one more time. Pressure turns toxic when we carry what should have been shared. This is not just for our personal life. It's just for our professional. It's for our personal too. I've said this before so many times. Like I found myself doing things for Tyler, and I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, what? Who am I mad at? I'm looking at the man in the mirror, right? It's me. All I gotta do is tell him I am not making your bed up. When you get up, you bring out the bed with you. That's what my mom used to say. Bring the bed out with you, right? You do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This morning for church, his shirt was wrinkled. I said, I am not earning that today. Go ahead, start on the left side, work your way around, right? So it's those little things that so many times, like, we bad, but hashtag you did it. Share the way, right? Research has shown that leaders who intentionally, let me say that again, intentionally delegate. Drop it in the chat. I need to, and you need to bold intentionally, right? Because I am not saying pass a task on to someone who you've not built capacity in. We've been working on him ironing t-shirts and smaller things before I've given him a full-blown nice button down the handle, right? But build capacity, right? To get to that point. But leaders who intentionally delegate, drop it in there. I need to intentionally delegate, free up to 25% of their cognitive bandwidth, right? That mental space that you need to do the heavy lifting. And then by doing that, you are measurably decreasing your stress level. I cannot say it enough. If you are extremely stressed out, you are not giving it's impossible to make your best impact, right? It's impossible to spread the joy, to spread the energy if you are stressed out to the max. So I want to remind you again, what are those 3 actions there? What do they look like here? What are your top 3 pressure points? Right? Think about just in your house right now, like not even professionally, in your household, in your family. What are the top 3 things that, you know what, it just stressed me out that I have to on Saturday morning have 1,000 loads of 1,000 load of clothes that needs to be washed and dried at one time. That was another thing at the house. You know what, Tyler? You know how to separate light, dark. Every now and then I'll check. We've got to delegate these things. So what are the one of the top 3 things that, you know what, it does add pressure to me, and I want you to pick just one, and work on who can help you with that particular task, right? Just one. The other thing, I mentioned this before, assigning outcomes and not tasks. So many times we're like, well, we give people busy work. We literally will give people busy work, and it's really at the end of the day not pushing the organization forward. It's not pressing what you need to have happen. So that second thing is to assign those outcomes, not just tasks. And then I love this one. Type this one in. What's my weekly offload? I need you on Sunday nights to put weekly offload. What are you saying this week? I'm taking off the list. I'm not hashtag. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the capacity to do it. And hashtag, I'm going to get somebody else to do it. Or it can wait till next time. And, I always think about wait till next time. What happens if you have a glass ball, a crystal ball, and you drop it versus a rubber ball? Drop it in the chat. Glass ball versus rubber ball. That's what I'm talking about when we're looking at, can it wait? Or does it have to be me? Can it be somebody else? So weekly offload. What is something, and I want you every Sunday here on out. Sunday is a great day to reflect about your upcoming week and to set yourself up for success. What's your weekly? I'm not doing it this week. I'm not. It's okay to give yourself permission to not do something. A weekly offload list, right? Very briefly, because y'all know we're here for a short time, not a long time, a good time. The last thing is building high pressure recovery plans. What do you think I mean by this? You got to build a high pressure recovery plan. I wish that I had a magic wand and I could wave it and I could take some of the load off that simple. I wish you had one, right? But the reality of the fact, I am one of the most optimistic people you will ever meet, one of the most positive people you will ever meet. But I'm a realist, right? And the reality of the fact is, there are some things that we just got to deal with. It's like the thorn in your flesh, like it's there. You got to learn how to deal with it. But what we know to be true is this: think about athletes. Pro athletes spend millions of dollars on their recovery after high performance games. I'm not talking about the meal prep before. I'm not talking about the athletic training before. Strictly on recovery afterwards, right? You cannot continue to perform at a high level if you are not recovering at a high level. Drop it in the chat. I can't continue. I cannot continue to perform at an extremely high level if I'm not also recovering at an extremely high level. Again, this goes for athletes, high level military leaders, right? They have a 20% boost in sustained performance simply based on what do they do after game day. So let's say you got a high stress situation you're just coming off of. What are you doing to reset, right? What are 3 strategies that I'm going to give you? Adopt the 3R rule. That's rest, reflect, and recover. Reflect again, rest, reflect, and recover. That's one. What's another one? Using a pressure debrief after a major stressful situation. Sometimes we just keep going, like it's a major issue that happened, and okay, you're over the situation, you're past the actual impact, the immediate impact, the physical, the mental, the day of impact, but you just keep going like it didn't stress you out. You keep going like it didn't happen. Like it's, you need to pause and reflect on what happened, why it happened, so that you can better position yourself for success the next time, right? We know that there are some things that even if you can predict it, we can't always stop a thing. You know, some people say, well, if you can predict it, you can prevent it. Yeah, some things, but some things that's not the case. I can predict that the weather's gonna rain, but I can't stop the rain. But what I can do is give me some rain gear. I can give me some rain gear, right? And so just thinking through when something stressful happens, taking the time to debrief. What happened? Why did it happen? What could I do next time? And then your personal recovery plan. Drop this in the chat. I need a personal recovery plan. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be quick 10 to 15 minute resets for your mind. What does that look like? It looks like journaling. It looks like walking. It looks like breath work. Breath work is powerful, right? Some rest, relax, and some music. So those are just 4 simple things that you can quickly do to help you. So again, tonight we were talking about how do we regulate and manage the pressure to perform. We talked about regulating before you respond. Remember, your energy is contagious. So the best thing you ever could do is to manage yourself before, right? The pot is boiling over. Just make sure we're doing that. And then redefining performance standards. Take some of that pressure off that nobody added on to you but you. It's okay, and it's okay to say, you know what, this week I'm gonna add it back. This week I got the energy to do it, so I'm gonna be extra this week. I'm gonna be extra. Next week, adjust accordingly. Let me say that: adjust yourself accordingly. Delegating the weight, not just the work. Stop giving people tasks. Give people outcomes. It's one thing for me to say, Tyler, make the bed up versus your room needs to be spick and span. 2 totally different things, right? That task is a part of that bigger outcome. Give people the outcome and then give them the support, the love, the everything they need to complete the outcome. And then this last one was building a high pressure recovery plan. Think of the highest performing athlete you know. You can Google what's their recovery plan, and you're going to see some stuff that you've never heard of before in your life. Again, if you are going to press your physical being, if you are going to press your mental, spiritual, social, emotional being to perform at a high level, you also need to love your physical, spiritual, emotional, social being enough to allow it to recover, right? So very important. So here we go. Y'all know I'm a teacher. Come on with it. What's your one takeaway from tonight? You guys have been amazing as you always are. You know how to help me, right? And I am asking you to help me tonight by simply liking this video, sharing it, even tagging somebody in the comments that you feel like could benefit from it. But before we get out of here, the exit ticket. What's your one takeaway from tonight? Is we're talking about the pressure to perform. How do I manage it? And again, I started and I'm going to end with this. You are not alone, y'all. People, we are so many people are hanging on by a thread, right? I think it was, I don't know, I saw somebody post this one time. It's like, when you feel like I'm down to the last wire, tie the rope, hang on, right? Don't just slide on off. Figure out how to tie that baby so you can just swing on and hold on a little while longer. But in the midst of holding on, take some of that pressure off. I promise you, there is somewhere that you've added pressure that nobody else did, right? It's okay. So again, what's your one takeaway from tonight? And as you are dropping it in the chat, you guys know we are so excited. Let me share this. I didn't share my win. So I have just graduated from a procurement program, OVU. Dr. Keith, she is so amazing. We are so excited that we are now registered, certified, officially a leadership firm. So you guys, if you need some support, not only just schools and organization, corporations, military, okay, your local agencies. If you guys need some leadership support, give us a call. Send a contacted email. And even if it's not you, maybe you know someone who needs support in the area of leadership, send them our way. Contact@bosseducator.com. I see you guys. Okay, I must recover at a high level. Yes, you got to give yourself the ability to reset. Give yourself that personal plan. Delegate the weight, not just the work. That's a game changer, folks. Get that recovery plan. You guys, go ahead and do what we always do. I believe in you. I'm cheering you on. I'm always a call, a smoke signal, a DM away. But listen, let's all get ready to go make some boss moves this week. So drop it in the chat for me. We are making boss moves this week, and you know what that means. We are all about making sure that regardless of the position that we are in, we are making impact, right? We are leaving people better than we found them because, again, we've got that kind of light on our lives. It's a great day to be you. Go do your dash this week. And in the meantime, figure out your task, your homework tonight is, what's that offload? What's your work offload? Take some stress off. Y'all go be great. Happy Thanksgiving. Love on your people. Love on your family. Love on your friends. And make sure you are letting out of your mouth. Let it be heard what you are grateful for. The more we express gratitude, the more things that our creator and the universe sends our way for which to be grateful. It's a great day, y'all. Great evening. Be boss. Y'all drop it in the chat. I'm making boss moves this week. See y'all later.